Forever.
Awesome.
Okay. All right, here we are. Everyone can hear me. Everyone can see me. Yes, thumbs up. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good afternoon. Happy Thursday, everyone. And thank you all so much for being here. My name is Gloria Kwaku, and I serve as the Chief Engagement Equity and Grants Officer for the Community Foundation. And a big part of my job and my role is connecting with organizations and community members who are doing wonderful and incredible work, working at the intersection of grant making, DEI, and community engagement. So so happy and excited to be here with our community partner, Alexis Ramirez. Today is especially exciting because it's our first ever virtual partnership engagement visit. So that's our rebranding for our site visits. Most of you have been to our site visits previously. And these visits are really about relationship building. We're really big on relationship building at the foundation. We believe philanthropy works best when it's grounded in listening, learning from each other, co-discovery, co-learning, transparency, accountability, all of those big words. And these visits give us the opportunity to hear directly from the people who are doing the great work and creating the spaces for community members like yourselves and those that are watching to connect with them in a space that is safe and that is informal, very, very informal. That's one thing that I'm really proud of is that I don't go in with an agenda. So when we go to our visits, I don't go with a clipboard and it's not compliance based. I'm not checking off to see how many chairs, how many desks, how many staff people, how many of this, how many of that. So that's not what we do. Again, it's about relationship building and being there to support one another. We also chose to host this virtually on purpose because accessibility matters to us. That's one thing that we talk about all the time. And not everyone can attend in person events because of several different things. It could be childcare, it could be transportation, it could be schedules, mobility issues. And so we wanted to just try this out as a pilot. So hosting on Zoom kind of allows us to join the conversation in the comfort of our own home. So I have my blankie. I was just saying earlier, got my blankie. I have my cup of tea right here. I said, if you got tea, grab me some tea. Um, and so, this is exactly what community engagement should look like. It's conversations, it's connecting. And Alexis has a beautiful soul and she's a wonderful presenter. So I guarantee you, you will not be bored. And it's especially meaningful because this month is Women's History Month, when we reflect on the many ways that women have shaped our communities. And Alexis is doing just that in shaping a healthier community. So it's my pleasure to introduce Alexis today, the executive director for the Doula Access Initiative. The initiative works to ensure that all families, regardless of income, race, or background, have access to compassionate, culturally responsive birth support. Have you all heard of doulas before? If you have or have not, just throw that in the chat and just say, yeah, I heard of a doula. Or, no, I have not heard of a doula. Doulas do so many things. I had a doula personally, and with my one and only child, and the doula became my best friend. They are everything for you at the moment, up until you give birth and after you give birth. So I'm really, really excited to hear about the work that Doula Access Initiative is doing. So again, this is not crazy formal with an agenda, so I'm just going to throw it to Alexis. And then Alexis is going to share more about the organization, the work that they do, and we will just kind of have a dialogue and a conversation. And I want people to feel free to ask questions. Again, it's a space for co-learning and co-discovery, and I find that a lot of things, synergies happen from our visits where, um, individuals end up either volunteering for the organization or providing some sort of like a resource or a connection or even a charitable gift. Um, Anything works and anything goes. So, Alexis, take it away.
Awesome. Well, it's nice to see you again, Gloria, and
Yeah.
nice to meet the rest of you. I see we have a retired nurse midwife. Very, very awesome. Thank you for your service.
For real, a service.
Um, yes. So the Doula Access Initiative is, well, obviously I'm biased, but it is a really incredible local organization where we fully subsidize the cost of doula care for new parents. Right now, we have a team of 8 doulas that I hope this year is going to increase. We are collaborating with a couple of other organizations in the county this year to support a cohort of doulas being trained. I think most of them have been involved with some programming at the Southside Community Center. So we're really excited because hopefully that will directly increase the amount of BIPOC doulas that we have in Tompkins County, which is a big need, a very big need,
Is that an
especially.
elephant, Alexis? Is that an elephant you're holding?
Um, that was an elephant
Ah,
and my daughter.
oh, oh, look at that
um, Yes, I am also a new mom. My baby girl is 6 months old, and
Congratulations. I had no
teething.
idea. I did not know.
Yes, so we are doing it all. Um, but yes, very excited about this year. So I've been in the process this past month. I've already onboarded 2 new doulas, hopefully onboarding another one next week, and then a whole cohort. So that's what's exciting about this upcoming training that should be happening in May. We're about to put out the registration for that because our role in this collaboration is that we are offering a direct entry to any of the doulas that get certified through this training to be a part of DAI. They won't have to go through the interview process. I already agreed that they can just be onboarded and will immediately enter the workforce. So that's really exciting for us because for me, that partnership's been happening with Southside and Tompkins County Whole Health, where I really feel like there has been, um, interrelational activity happening, amongst county entities as well as other grassroots organizations that have a really long-standing reputation in the community. To be able to support this and really improving maternal health outcomes in Tompkins County. Um, so I'm really excited about that. That's why I mentioned it first.
Good.
um, and otherwise, what our work has looked like, the history of the Doula Access Initiative began as a initiative that came out of the Ithaca Doula Collective. So the Ithaca Doula Collective is a group of doulas in the region um, that I think there's a website I used to be part of the Doula Collective, that are a group of doulas and essentially do a lot of outreach to educate the community about what doulas are and what happened, about 10 years ago or so, because it was around 2018, that conversations were really starting to happen more frequently around equity and access to doula care because there was none that was accessible in Tompkins County, and I was one of the very few BIPOC doulas, and um, it felt wrong to be charging upwards of $1,000 to people that can't afford it, and have that expectation of especially like new parents. And so um, after that, I exited the conversation and left it to some other doulas to organize. And what they did was they initially started a fund to subsidize the cost of doula care. And a couple of years after that, that fund became enough to start programming. And I believe officially in 2021, the Dual Access Initiative was incorporated as a 501(c)(3), and so it took a couple of years to get the movement going. And during that time, I had also provided a bit of advisory at an advisory level to the doulas that were starting this organization about, what I felt was necessary in the community around equitable doula access, and what I felt were very unmet needs. Especially with a lot of high risk women and my experiences as a doula, and what happens in, even CMC, right, in those spaces, and why advocacy is so important. And that as it is, right, doulas don't get paid enough.
True.
So by 2021, DAI started getting small grants. And here we are in 2026. So 5 years later, we have grown to still be a very small organization. So I believe, the first formal executive director, the person that was in my position before me, Kathleen McDonald, was one of the founding directors. And I do believe that, she paid herself a little bit to get by, but it wasn't her formal job. And so in September of 2023, I was hired as the executive director, and have since been working to expand the organization. And it's been very hard,
Mhm.
because, as I don't know if all of you know about what it takes to really run a 501(c)(3), but it does take substantial public funding. And so we haven't gotten any federal or state funding, and we rely mostly off of community donations and private foundation grants. And so we have been operating with a budget of, I would say, around 50,000 currently. And we provide services to around 40 families every year. About 50%, I think it has been steadily increasing, are about um, BIPOC families that are across the spectrum. They're not just Black or brown women, but also immigrants, people who have been displaced in Tompkins County as refugees, people who English is not their primary language. And somehow we've been able to serve all of these needs with our typically 8 doulas. And so I'm hoping that this year our capacity can expand. And I hope that every year. Right. So I'm running this organization. And typically I'm allotted about 30 hours per month to be able to run it. And otherwise we operate off of a lot of volunteer time from other birth workers in the community, as well as our board members. Um, which has been really, really incredible. Every year we have a fundraiser that is definitely volunteer run. A lot of time and energy goes into it. And last year um, was apparently a really awesome time. I was not able to attend. I was like very freshly postpartum, and a lot of the organizing happened during my maternity leave. But there was a evening dance at the Argos for reproductive justice, and I heard the turnout was great and it was a lot of fun. And we did a really amazing job, and that was all volunteer work in the community. And it's really beautiful to be able to share this story, right? And so, yeah, what the future of DAI is looking like right now is we are in the process of getting our paperwork in order to amend our certificate of incorporation to be able to expand our programming. In the past and currently, all we do is connect clients to doulas for full spectrum, prenatal, on-call labor and birth support, as well as postpartum. Um, and I would like to be able to offer scholarships to people in the community that would like to become doulas that can't afford trainings, to be able to offer mentorship to people who are new doulas and feel unsupported because it's very hard. It's very hard to get into the workforce as a doula, right? You usually for a training you have to serve usually 3 births and a small amount of postpartum, and otherwise they're like bon voyage. And that's very scary
Yeah,
to all of
yeah,
a sudden be that advocate for a person, especially when you haven't gone through the process of giving birth yourself. You have to rely on your experience, and a lot of doulas, I don't want to say are unwilling, but it's very difficult to find doulas who are willing to let you shadow them during different births, because that's up to the parent ultimately. Um,
well, because it's such an intimate relationship.
yes,
So yeah, to have somebody just shadow is awkward, I guess.
yes, yes. So the entry into work as doula is very hard, and I've had a lot of experience at this point, and I definitely want to be able to better support newer doulas. But we have come to find out, I wasn't there when the nonprofit was incorporated, so I've come to learn that. Around the laws, around, what programming and purposes are like, when you are incorporated and what you're able to receive funding for and what you can and can't do, and what you have to do in order to change them. So for the last better part of the last year, because we started this process in July, we've been working with the Hofstra Student Legal Clinic to make sure that all of our ducks are in line to be able to hopefully get permission to make that amendment at the Office of Attorney General to expand our programming to serve the community needs the best that we can. So that is,
So that's a whole you have to go through a whole process to add services.
yes. So you actually have to petition to the Office of Attorney General to receive permission to then submit your paperwork for the amendment to your articles of incorporation.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so we have to make sure that we're basically going through like an unofficial audit with this legal clinic, where we have to make
Okay.
sure that all of our paperwork is perfect.
Yes.
So that when we submit that request, that the Office of Attorney General says, absolutely, go ahead and submit your petition to make these changes. Um, so that's all exciting for us. And, this year we'll be also having our first board of directors campaign to welcome hopefully new board members by the start of the 2027 fiscal year. And on my agenda is equity, because no matter how we look at it, the Doula Access Initiative is still a white-led organization. And from my perspective is how can we be making these changes in our community if we aren't making those changes ourselves? So that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
But I love it, and it's really beautiful, and especially in today's environment, when we're experiencing constant attacks against reproductive justice, and um, I'm happy that, I can still be on the front lines of,
Yeah.
doing this work, but behind a computer. So
But
yeah,
then there's reality, right? There's the reality of it all.
yes,
No, yeah.
yes, there is.
I get
So
it.
yeah, that's a little bit about, what we do and how we do it. And, I'm happy that, we can be just here today and be serving as a first in these, partnership engagements,
Yes.
virtual site visits because
Yeah,
yeah, we
right.
don't we don't have an office.
Yeah. Because when I did reach out, you're like, we don't have an office. I said, okay, we're going to do it virtually. Let's do
Yeah.
it virtually.
It would be very cool. It would be very cool to have an office and, be able to take like walk-in clients and, offer a little bit more extensive case management, and maybe that's a 5-year plan or even a 3-year, I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, happy to be here and yeah, thank you all for
No, thank you so
yeah.
much. That was a whirlwind of information. And there are lots of things that you do that I actually didn't even know that you did. So thank you for all that information. So we want to open it up for questions. Robin,
Yeah. Hi. Congratulations on your wonderful work. That's
I
terrific.
know the
I wonder
wonderful
if
work,
you,
but I'm like, congratulations on the baby. Like I'm
oh, on the
seeing the
baby
baby,
too,
and
of
that's a
course.
gorgeous
Thank
baby.
you.
I have a question about how you defined access. Who's eligible to be, are some of the rural folks? I used to visit folks in the right outside of Ithaca. There are some very impoverished communities, and are they taking advantage also of accessing the care under your initiative?
Yes. So we primarily serve Tompkins County, which I mean, is rural for the most part. There is Ithaca, and then there's the rest of the county. Here and there, we do receive inquiries from Steuben, Schuyler, Cortland counties. Um, there's not a lot. Our outreach is limited, but I do feel that word is definitely getting around because more frequently are we getting inquiries from outside of Ithaca. Um, the other issue is in general, yeah, I mean CMC is in Ithaca. I mean there's so many issues, and as far as eligibility, we serve anybody who identifies as low income. And this is generally self-declared. We use the WIC income guidelines because they are above the Medicaid um, eligibility limit. And also, I also really advocate for people when they say, I'm not quite within that spectrum to I'm like, so like tell me tell me
It's called
about your
the
life,
working poor.
like
That's what they're called, the working poor.
yeah, like you didn't apply for no reason,
Yeah.
like let's talk about what your needs are, and rarely is there a person just like, oh, actually I can afford a doula. And for other people who identify as brown, black, indigenous, people of color, first and second degree immigrants, refugees, and essentially basically anybody who really feels that they think that they need this support. I tell them the link is on our website, like please submit an application. I will get in touch with you and we will have a conversation about what your needs are. And this year, we've had a very new precedent where most of our inquiries that have come in so far have already connected with their doula. So there is a reference network that exists, and which I think is incredible, to have applications already being like, this is a person I want to work with on your team. So there is word getting out there, and that's been my first experience of you know having some sort of, data indicate that there is a semblance of like some sort of community outreach that is occurring in a very grassroots way. Um, I would love for us to expand our services to more readily serve rural people. Sometimes transportation becomes an issue. This did become an issue actually in the fall. And so we actually put an option on our application to account if people need transportation services or not. And then, like, what does that even look like? And I'm like, that definitely falls under the full spectrum, care. So if somebody needs transportation, we can mark it as that. So we're constantly trying to meet the needs and also figure out how do we get to figuring out what what to do to be able to find out who needs
Yeah.
what. And I think that a lot of it is education. A lot of people don't even know what doulas are still. I think in like 2023, I served a client in Cortland at Guthrie, and there was somebody doing an ultrasound and L&D, and they didn't know what a doula was.
Mhm.
So we're still there.
Yeah.
And that was just 3 years ago, and I'm sure there's still been, further education, but I dare say that that still happens in different places, in our community where we're still educating practitioners in labor and delivery that don't know what doulas are.
Mhm.
CMC has definitely grown leaps and bounds over the last decade around that. I think that they can almost directly refer people to the Ithaca Doula Collective and the Doula Access Initiative. And we also have a ongoing partnership with the Childhood Development Council as well, who will refer clients to us who are often very young moms. And yeah, I think, we're trying.
You're trying. Yeah. So you mentioned Child Development Council. What other partnerships do you have within the community? So for example, you talked about, getting the word out. People don't really know what doulas are. Have you tried to connect with like WIC or something, or trying to just get that information out there?
Yes. So, Northeast Peds, the OBGYNs as well, and the hospital, Tompkins County Whole Health, WIC, they all know about DAI. I'm not sure the last time that we have delivered rock cards. We try to do that regularly, as well as, any flyers that we have to be able to make those referrals. Honestly, as far as like the actual care providers in the area, I have yet to actually see an application that says they were, referred by any OBGYN at all in Tompkins County. Um, so I don't know why. I know that they know doulas exist.
Right.
um,
And and are you a staff of one? Is it just you?
yes, it's just me. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's me. We have honestly, we're about to onboard one more new board member, but our board is typically 3 people. And the treasurer has put in a lot of volunteer time, and she basically handles all of the payments for the doulas. So we directly reimburse the doulas, and we try to follow the current Medicaid reimbursement rate, which offer a little bit of competition. It's not that much. So right now for basically prenatals, on-call labor and delivery, and then 15 hours of postpartum, our reimbursement is 1,475. Our hourly rate for those postpartum hours are $25 an hour, which this year I am increasing to 30, which might mean we have to cap the amount of clients we can take because by the end of 2025, I think we started to actually lose some doulas because our reimbursement rate is not in accordance with the current cost of living. and primarily postpartum care. And I'm like, we can't have that. Like if we have to say no to clients, in December, then unfortunately that would be sad. And I tell my doulas that like my first priority is to make sure that our doulas feel supported, because to the extent that our doulas feel that they have support is the how much clients we can support, and how well we can support them. So that's always my priority, is to make sure that our doulas are getting what they feel they need. And I think by the beginning of this year, everybody was like $25 an hour is not cutting it. And I'm like, no kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, why isn't, like, that's a whole other conversation, but
Yeah.
the cost of living is extraordinary. So yes, it is just me. And, I'm hoping that we can make some significant changes by 2027. I would really like to expand our programming, expand my own hours, do more for case management for our clients, and be able to support our doulas and have more community outreach, so that we can serve more clients as well. I mean, there's a never ending list of things to
Yep.
do around reproductive
Yep.
justice.
Yep. Absolutely. Thank you, Marnie. Marnie, what was your question?
So I think you said, thank you, Gloria. So I'm Marnie Anisi. I'm from the Health Foundation for Western and Central New York. Um, and I think we're actually supporting that program you started talking about in the beginning through Southside Community Center, the doula training. But so I was wondering, as you're talking about doula reimbursement, the clients you're serving are not Medicaid eligible, is that correct?
they I'm trying to think how. So our clients are not all Medicaid eligible. The majority of our clients are Medicaid eligible.
So
I would say
the reason I asked that is because I was thinking about like the New York State Medicaid reimbursement for doulas now. Sounds like your doulas are not tapping into that at this point.
we have some doulas are. One of my initiatives this year is to be able to at least provide a little bit of support for any of our doulas who would like to be on the Medicaid enrollment reimbursement for the insurance program, that at least they have the um, paperwork in line to be able to do that. I think that for a lot of people, the insurance reimbursement aspect is a little overwhelming, and I do know that the process of getting enrolled is quite lengthy. And so I would say I think there are 2 or 3 out of our 8 doulas that are currently serving Medicaid clients. The majority of them are not. So there was concern, I think, last year when that program really started to be more widely used, how we would continue our programming. I was like, I don't think we're going to have an issue. My doulas, at the very least, don't like doing paperwork as it is for me, let alone getting themselves enrolled in Medicaid. That's going to take, a little bit of a push from somebody else to be able to do that. Because I think honestly, at this point, it's important to be able to serve those clients at a different level. This year has been the first year where I've had clients that have come to me to say, I have my doula through Medicaid already, but I still need support outside of that. And so we are able to provide what they can't get as well through Medicaid. But I would say on average, 1 out of 10 inquiries are not Medicaid eligible, but the majority of them are.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Great question, Marnie. Are there any other questions? Anyone else have anything for Alexis?
Yeah, I have a bunch of questions all over the place, actually.
Sure.
Um, so um, so where do most of your referrals come from? Are they at this point mostly coming by word of mouth through the community?
Yes.
Okay, okay. And how about through the so I'm a retired nurse midwife, and so how about do you get referrals through um the various midwives in the community, the midwives from OBGYN, the home birth midwives, the birth center?
Um, Rarely, very rarely. So on our inquiry form, and this isn't something I ask again, but on our inquiry form, I do ask if somebody was referred, who were they referred by? Um, and rarely is it any of those. I would say about 1 out of 10 inquiries we get are from the Child Development Council, but
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
seems to be like a really big partner for us. But that's
Yeah.
really it. Yeah.
And the moms program from the health department too, is that
Sometimes, but it's not as common. Um,
okay?
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It sounds to me like you have a resource or something, a connection, Nancy, you want to share.
Well, no, I'm just trying to sort of at this moment anyway understand. I mean, I've not been part of the midwife community here in Ithaca. I do know um, some of the home birth midwives, and there are two birth centers, one up beyond the hospital. But so where do most of the women give that your doulas that work with, where do they give birth? Mostly at the hospital.
Yeah, mostly at the Cuga birthplace.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Um,
After that, I would say the next place that our care primarily expands into is the southern tier. So Elmira and Horseheads would be the next most most common locations of delivery. Whether it's Arnott or Guthrie down there, but and then after that, it's up in Cortland. But usually the next need is down in the southern tier.
okay.
Um,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, so yeah, it would seem that making some connections, and it's all about time and energy for you. You're, pretty limited just in terms of your time, of your paid time. Um, so it sounds like you need some more staff. And I mean, and so I'm assuming that you're also the person then that gives support to your doulas.
yes, that's
Yeah.
usually that
I
comes.
mean, executive directors end up in small organizations end up doing everything.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
that is me. I would
Yep.
say
Chief
what
Development Officer. She is the HR person. She is the CEO. She is everything.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
I'm trying
Yeah.
I'm trying to put somebody in the board kind of in the position of doing a little bit more of community engagement in that sense. And one of the conversations that have come up is leaning on the Ithaca Doula Collective a little bit more to make some of those connections. And by connections, I mean really kind of hone in on some of those relationships because one, the whole thing is about equity and access, and a lot of those doulas, they always want to know what they can do more beyond what they're already doing as far as like in the community. And conversations that I have with onboarding, my doulas, I always ensure that they're doing this because they're committed to reproductive justice and advocacy, and that doesn't always just look like serving a birth, right? In a hospital sometimes you have to have conversations in everyday life about, what the importance of it is, but trying to keep people, in line with, the reason of why we're doing that work. But I'm also hearing that there's a lot of doulas in the Ithaca Doula Collective still that are like, what can we do to help? And so we're coming up with like a list of to-dos essentially. And I think community engagement is on the top of there.
Because you initially came out of the doula collective, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And how did the separation come about? What?
It came about because there was an understanding that we wanted to bring in outside funding, whether it's through donations or grants, to be able to subsidize for the cost of births. And not all of the Ithaca collective doulas were necessarily felt that they wanted to put more energy into that type of work. So there needed to be a separation of that because some doulas just want to be a doula. And they weren't their interest wasn't in community organizing.
Yeah.
Right, right, right. So where does most of your funding come from?
We have funding from the Park Foundation, and typically we've gotten that every other year. Otherwise, it's been through individual donations. Our fundraiser, 2025 was the best year yet. We brought in just over $11,000. And then otherwise, they are smaller private foundations. 5,000.
And the Community Foundation, don't forget Community Foundation.
And I was going to say,
I was
Our
going to
Women's
say, does the
Fund, because
community?
our Women's Fund loves the Doula Access Initiative.
yes, yes, and
Great.
I definitely would say that falls in the like category of like the larger, more regular funding that we get. That's not these like large grants from like the park, because when we get those, they're fantastic. And sometimes they take us longer than we expect to spend down as well. And the other donations don't necessarily ensure our programming at the same time. So the Community Foundation's funding has really also hit like a very sweet spot for us as far as what feels manageable. And I also love the Community Foundation because of the work that is going on in the county around philanthropy in general. Like we don't have conversations with Park. We don't have conversations with any of our private donors in that sense that are, giving us larger checks. They just, I think, are looking to spend their money, which is great. And, like I said, like this work is also about advocacy, and I personally, from a place of nonprofit development, really deeply appreciate, when our funders want to know more about the work that we're doing and why we're doing it. So, yeah.
I
Community
think
fund.
that's truly, yeah, you're so funny. I think that's really truly what sets us apart from all of the other funders is that we are interested in building that community partnership and that relationship and that trust is really important to us. We don't want to just be known as just like an ATM and being transactional. We say that all the time. Philanthropy should not be transactional. It really should be relational. We want to know what our grantees are up to, the impact that they're having, and also what we can do to support. So this leads into my next question, and that is for everyone who is watching the video and everyone who's here, just learning about what it is that you're doing. How can we participate? How can we help? How can we support? What are the ways, like the different ways, how inspire us, Alexis, to like do more? How can we help? Because
Yes.
we are worried about your capacity. You are a an army of one.
Yes. So I think first is sharing about our work, like we exist. The Dual Access Initiative does incredible work in our region. We're not just limited to Tompkins County. We do serve surrounding areas around Tompkins County. And we want people to know that free care is available. We have doulas that want to serve moms, and I have doulas that want to make a living being a doula, like it goes both ways. And so we have that care available, and we have that passion, on our team of doulas. So we want the community to know that we exist, and that we're ready to serve the needs. And on the reciprocating front, we also want, the communities that, maybe isn't looking to have a baby or isn't pregnant or need postpartum care, that wants to know, wow, this is incredible. What can I do? Like, share about our work as well. And, we have a link on our website to take donations. We are community run. We really do thrive off of our community donors, and it's really important for us to be able to say that as well. The Doula Collective is just this beautiful expanding network, and we really want to be able to constantly say that this is where we're matching essentially like people who want to support births to clients, and that's how we structure our sponsorship as well, to say that if you are looking to support one birth, you can donate $1,100, and that's one person and one doula, and $25 is an hour of care. Like we can map that out, except for 2026, $30 is going to be an hour of care.
Right.
And other community connections, right, to other funders as well. We are really looking to expand, and people who might be interested in serving on our board. I really would love people's expertise in that way as well. And that doesn't. I would love for people to have experience in reproductive health, and it doesn't always look that way. Sometimes the person and their expertise is in bookkeeping, or in legal matters, or perhaps is a retired nurse midwife. I don't know.
I don't know, Nancy.
But everybody's perspective is valuable as well, and we really we're a very diverse organization in that sense, as well as anybody who wants to be a doula. I would say that at the very least, I can connect them to other community resources to figure out what they can do to be able to get trained, how to get trained, and hopefully in the future be able to help them in their journey of getting trained and provide mentorship. But right now, I would say the Doula Access Initiative is expanding, and we are always looking for community donations and just sharing the awareness that we're here and we're ready to serve.
Good. Always circle back and say those gifts and donations. It's okay to say that. Like a lot of
Right.
executive
Yeah.
directors are really shy about asking, but it's like, no, honey, no. We always circle back. Always circle back to that because we are living in
So,
a realistic time right now.
so Alexis, who supports you?
Like in my job?
Yeah.
Well, we have an incredible accountant at the end of the year, provides those 1099s for our doulas that I send to them. And he does excellent work. And so on the legal end with paperwork and all of those filings, we have had that professional help, and that's very important. Our treasurer has gone above and beyond in her position, which I hope she will continue to serve as our treasurer for a while longer. And she's the one who cuts the checks to the doulas, does all of the bank stuff, so I don't have to worry about that. And we have another board member who does a lot of just engagement with the doulas and with the birthing community, Darcy Black. And she's just always putting in her extra time and has generally been the person that's always leading the initiative around organizing our auction and fundraiser. And we have had usually two or three other doulas who regularly assist with that every year. And so I would say that there's a solid handful of people in the community that have been working alongside me that offer their support and time and kind.
Great, great.
Yeah,
Glad to hear that. Yeah.
really great questions, Nancy.
Yeah.
You need to come on all of our programs. All right. Any other commentary, any feedback for Alexis?
Well, I first of all, I apologize for being late, but Alexis, my name is Victor Younger, and I work at Cornell, the Director of Diversity and Inclusion, and I have such a pleasure of connecting with extraordinary women, scholars that are here, but hearing their stories and particularly understanding the work that you do and how important it is. So I'm really listening and learning. And if I can be able to resource, certainly want to do that. I sit on the board as well for the Community Foundation. And my personal connection and curiosity is that my cousin, who is a physician in rural Virginia, in the mountainous part of rural Virginia, this is a passion of hers. And I just admire what you're doing. And I'd love to be a part in whatever way that I can personally and professionally. So thank you for showing up and doing what you do.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Victor.
absolutely.
That does remind me, one of like the smaller sometimes needs that I think of that we have is, at some point I feel like in the near future, because we're coming up on our 5 years, and for the last 2.5 years I have been religiously trying to collect data. I love the data, especially when it relates to birth. And so I think eventually, I'll probably put out like a call for students, especially like research students, to be able to help analyze some of the data and come up with corresponding research to help expand some of our language, as far as especially as it comes to grant applications, because one thing I would love to apply for, especially like larger state and federal funding, because we need it, and it gets competitive, and that's where I know certain knowledge and narrative becomes very pertinent to creating that competitive edge. So
Yeah.
thank you for reminding me of
And
that.
students are very hungry to learn,
Yes.
and they are perfectionists, so they will give you good quality work. These
Yeah.
Cornell students. We have at the Community Foundation, we have two work study students that work with us. So that's one way that you can work with Cornell students, but another way is either through the Masters in Public Administration program, where you will literally get a group of students, 4 to 5 students, that will create that you create like a capstone project with them for the semester. So they literally, like, you become their focus for the entire semester. So you give them some type of goal or objective, or maybe you want them to look at your strategic plan, or anything that it could be. That's their goal, is to their capstone project in which they are graded on, so they become very invested in it. That is something, that's another route that you can take to help you build capacity. If you
Love
would
that.
be interested in that, I can definitely connect you, because I graduated from that program.
Thank you.
course. Is there any other comments?
As long as you're making connections, Gloria,
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a connection made with me and Alexis, so we can
Okay.
talk further
Yeah.
offline.
Yes.
So how about this? Everybody that's on this call now, I'm going to send an email with Alexis. And then you will have Alexis's information, and then you guys can take it offline from that
Yes.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
see, this is
Yeah.
why we have these visits. And I'm so glad we were able to do it virtually, because otherwise maybe a few of you wouldn't be here today. So this is why we have these visits, create
Right.
energies and these relationships, and that's what is so, so, so important. So we
Yeah.
want to thank you, Alexis, so much for everything that you do for the community, for the moms, for the women that want to be doulas, um, just for the light that you bring to the community, because you really are a light, and you do it with such poise and with calmness. And I am the type of person, like, that is not me at all. Like, if I'm stressed out, you will know that I'm stressed out because I show it. But to manage all of it and to do all that you're doing, and then to manage it with a little young soul right there with you, it says a lot about who you are and what you represent in the community. So we are so thankful for you. We are proud to be your partner at the Community Foundation. Anything that you will need, you have a partner in us. Like, just really, really
And
know that. We
thank
want
you
you to know that.
so
So
much.
yeah.
Yes, and I do. I know that. I think you were trying to get in touch with me last fall, and you know why I was a little unavailable.
I see why. It
Yes.
makes
So
sense now. It all
yeah,
makes sense now.
I'm happy to say I'm basically a single mom, like entrepreneur, and I am an aspiring midwife and an IBCLC candidate. So this work really comes from my soul, and happy to make connections and
Yes.
constantly figure out what are we doing, to improve our maternal and infant health outcomes in the
Yes.
region, because it's
Yes.
regional.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What you do and represent really is a powerful example of what community centeredness looks like. So we are, again, so thankful for you. And we are thankful for everybody that's on this call and everybody that's watching this video. Um, we will be posting this video on our website and on our YouTube page. And on our website, we can include like your email information and all that for people to get in contact with you. And again, if you are watching, charitable gifts are welcome.
Yes.
Connections in any way or any sort is also welcome. So we thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this space and for keeping it a safe space and a curious space. Thank you all for being here, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. All
Yes.
right,
Thank you so much,
take care.
everybody.
I'm going to stop the recording, but Alexis, could you stay on for a second?